Dear Community Live. All right, guys, welcome to Dear Community Live. Dear Community Live is the final wrap-up of your project to share experiences and to educate this community and other communities on how to get your project done. So a little bit about the 24-Hour Citizen Project. It's an event where we connect people that have community-focused ideas with expertise and financial backers. This is an event created for citizens to impact their community directly through the pursuit of citizen-led projects. And so the ultimate goal is to recruit great ideas, encourage citizens to pursue them, and make them happen. But know that any citizens that compete during the event should be prepared for the ups and downs of pursuing your idea and the pressure of getting it done in just 24 hours. So welcome, guys. Let's go ahead, give us some brief introductions and tell us a little bit about Krewe De Canailles, just like a 30-second elevator pitch.
Okay, I am Julie Bourdelaw, and I'm on the board for Krewe De Canailles.
I'm Blaze Peterson, and I am also on the board of Krewe De Canailles.
And my name is Paul Q, like these two ladies here. I'm one of the co-founders and board members of Krewe De Canailles. Yeah.
All right, so tell us, what is Krewe De Canailles?
It is a community-encouraged and involved marching parade that we held during Mardi Gras 2018 and hope to continue every year until we die.
Yeah.
Until we die.
And we envision Krewe De Canailles as a community art project, community visual arts and cultural hub that could possibly be something that lasts year-round, not just Mardi Gras, but something that could encourage people to get together year-round to bring their creativity together in one place.
All right, so I'm going to put myself in the audience along a street. There's no barricades in front of me, right?
No barricades at all.
No barricades at all.
Well, bare minimum barricades. Yeah.
Bare minimum barricades. Okay, some
We
barricades.
don't want to promise absolutely no barricades. Yeah.
So what am I seeing? Krewe De Canailles is approaching me. I'm on the street. What am I going to see?
So this year we had a big emphasis on handmade floats, a lot of handmade costumes, and just a lot of people being the typical hooligans that you'll see in the streets of Mardi Gras. But this time they're accessible and they're on street level to where you can see them at eye level. And we were envisioning something that was a lot more connected to the people and something that was a lot more accessible and something that people could see firsthand and get throws, or rather handouts firsthand, from person to person rather than just being thrown at them from a float. So
not a typical Mardi Gras parade as you would see regularly in Lafayette. There's no motorized vehicles. The handmade floats, we encourage people to pull them on their back or pull them with a bicycle. And as Paul said, and having handmade throws instead of Mardi Gras beads, sustainable throws that we hand out to people.
Yeah. So why not the typical parade?
Well, I think that's part of the reason why we came up with the idea. Don't mean to jump ahead, but both of us and separate sort of groups of friends were at a Lafayette Mardi Gras event, and after just kind of felt really disconnected to the whole experience. So that was sort of the preface for starting the whole idea. It's much more interactive. You go from like looking down on people with their arms in the air to actually looking in people's eyes, and you're asking about, standing on the side. There was like a ton of people dancing and really, not that we wanted this and we don't want this next year, but people sort of joining in on the parade and walking with us. So we just really wanted a different experience.
Yeah. So take me back a little bit. So every idea is kind of born somewhere. Where did the idea for a walking parade come from? And I know it was an idea that existed before the 24-Hour Citizen Project. And the 24-Hour Citizen Project was just the funding mechanism and the platform to get it off the ground. But take me back to where the idea was born? And if it wasn't in a conversation that any of you were a part of, who came up with it?
So all of us had, been to walking parades in Baton Rouge, especially in New Orleans. Stuff like Krewe De, just those community-based walking parades that sometimes spontaneously happen in New Orleans. So the idea was always out there. People in this community, like Julie and Blaze and our other fellow board members, had always thought about it. Last year, after the Mardi Gras event, that kind of left everybody a little wanting more, I guess. We one of the board members, Hunter, and I, we decided, like, hey, let's try to get a conversation started. And it turns out that people were already talking about it. People like Julie, people like Blaze, people like Leah, and we just decided to join forces whenever we all saw on social media that, hey, there's other people who want this too. Why not, put our minds together and accomplish something?
Yeah, I mean, we literally, Blaze and I were together for Mardi Gras, and we're like, we should just start our own parade. I mean, it can't be that hard, right? Like, let's just do it. I mean, talked about it all day long about how we were going to start our own parade. And then it was crazy, because then Paul posted something, and I called Blaze, and I was like, what? I'm like, Paul and them just posted, let's call them. Like, let's start a parade.
Yeah.
And so I think I texted you.
Yeah, I think you did, yeah.
I was like, man, oddly enough, like, Blaze and I totally had this conversation. We want to start a parade. And so we were like, let's get together and talk about and see if we have the same idea, and even if we don't, like, can we make it the same idea?
Right.
And we actually really did have the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like very similar right off the bat. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of like overlap. I mean, there was a lot of overlap, but there wasn't a whole lot of like, no, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Like, we were both like, let's do it.
So you had this idea. You had already kind of formed a team around the idea, it seems like. Mm-hmm. And then you hear about the 24-hour Citizen Project. And then you apply.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
You get selected. Paul, I know you were there on that Friday night, which is the beginning of the 24 hours.
Brainstorming, the camaraderie night. Yeah.
That's right. So could you share any of your experiences about that night, maybe some of the connections you made in the community and any of the work you got done?
Absolutely. We were paired. I guess paired up with different community leaders. Kate Durio came up and talked to us. The mayor came up and talked to us. Martha Cluett came up and talked to us, and just a bunch of different people came to hear what we had to say and the vision that we had for the community. And the mayor especially had like some very important advice. You need to go jump through this hoop to get this thing done, or you need to talk to this person to make sure that this thing happens. But everybody was super supportive that night. The panel of guests that you guys were able to pair us up with were able to give us very constructive advice, constructive criticism to help us refine that pitch and eventually get the funding that we needed.
Now, did you have the route figured out that night or before that night, or did that night help facilitate the route of the parade?
For the most part, we had everything prepared before the Saturday pitch event. We had all even though there was only a handful of us on hand that Friday night for the brainstorming night, we had all of our materials prepared ahead of time. Great.
So let's talk about the pursuit of your project. So I kind of remember, whenever the winners of the 24-hour Citizen Project are announced, and you're sitting there, you're holding the check. You go home and then you realize, holy smokes, we just got funding for an idea. We just put all of this work in. Now we have to do it. And you've got the attention of ears right now that potentially want to do this maybe in their community or just interested in how you got it done. So take me through like a step-by-step, like what are some of the things you had to get done to make this happen?
Well, like Paul said, we were pretty prepared ahead of time of knowing going into it what needed to be done. The group that we put together, luckily, we all have we all bring something to the table. And so with me, like I do a lot of events and I put on a festival and I've worked in film production. And so I was already prepared to like talk to the police, get permits, figure out if we need to close down roads, those kind of things. And I mean, really we just had like a list of the things that needed to be done. Like we needed that. We needed insurance. We needed a place for our after party. We needed entertainment at the after party. We needed food at the after party. Like just those kind of things. And then on top of all that, we needed to make sure that people came to the parade. Yeah. And that people signed up to be in the parade.
Right.
And so, we each kind of took roles of who handled what and really pushed on social media and started a Facebook page and made a website, really just started putting everything into play and pushing people to try to sign up, encouraging people to come to the parade, and also trying to explain what it is that we were trying to do.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a first year project, and Lafayette. I don't know if we should claim that we're the first because I don't know the history of it, but if we were the first walking parade in Lafayette, but a lot of people around here they just didn't grow up with walking parades. So yeah, like Julie said, it's a matter of convincing people who hadn't necessarily seen a walking parade, like what is this?
Right.
Yeah, just making sure that we could get people out there in the first place.
So there's an educational piece to this too.
Yeah,
I mean, when I think of a parade, especially around here, I think of big floats. I think of beads. I think of all the excess. And then you roll through. There are no barricades. You're not throwing beads, but you're getting creative with your throws. Mm-hmm. And so there's an interesting element there. But I think people are attracted to it. Mm-hmm. So we were part of a crew, and I know we had a really, really good time. So this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you come up with an idea. You build a team around that idea. There's a logistics piece, right? So that would be your police, your insurance, your route, your location, the after party, like all the logistics there. And then you've got this promotion recruitment piece. And so how'd you guys divvy that up? So you have how many people on your committee?
There's 7 now.
7 now, yeah.
Okay, so
6 before the parade.
Okay, so how'd you divvy that stuff up?
It was really just kind of like
it was kind of all hands on deck, kind of.
Yeah, it was pretty much all hands on deck, and then it was also like what's your background and like what works for you. I mean, we didn't want anybody to do something that they didn't want. Like they were like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, so
this is not fun for me.
Yeah, so Julie, like she said, she comes from a film production background. So she handled a lot of logistical back end stuff. Setting up the after party and whatnot. Blaze works in business, so Blaze handled a lot. You handle like the finances and everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another big component of it.
Yeah.
Just organization of the entity itself and moving things forward. I think that would be a big component that people really need to remember in starting a project.
Absolutely. Too. Yeah, I mean, you can have all the fun in the world, but the government still wants their piece, So.
Sure.
But Hunter's also handled part of the logistics side too. He works for Downtown Development Authority, and Rodney has a background in marketing, and I have a background in multimedia. So he and I kind of handle the media outreach side of it.
Yeah. So understand.
And Leah also.
Yes, Leah. Yeah.
Leah handled a lot of the connecting with the crews and helping them sign up and keeping them involved in the conversation over email, like those kind of things.
Right.
Leah was great too because this may be a good piece of advice for anybody that wants to do this in the future. She had been in a walking parade in New Orleans, so she had a lot of good insight on just what rules we need to set up. That wasn't something that we considered, that we had to have, people sign waivers and that kind of stuff. So having somebody with that experience was really valuable, I think, to us.
Yeah, having some kind of frequently asked questions page, but also like, here are our rules. Like, here, you cannot have motorized vehicles, no beats, but also like things that we didn't really think of.
Yeah, she definitely brought the institutional knowledge of it, because I think she was a member, or she still is a member of Krewe De, right?
She was.
Yeah. So she brought that side to it, and that's one of the most important things that that anybody was able to contribute.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So I know a theme was a big component of this year's event. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
What was the theme and how did it come about?
Well, I don't remember how we decided.
Y'all don't remember it? It dawned on me whenever we had this conversation. In our first meeting, we were actually talking about local legends, because I remembered something about like Rob Perilla. So it was kind of in that first meeting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then one of the first meetings, I think that was at my house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that it's all coming back, because that was almost 18 months ago, really. So we decided on our theme of local legends, and we let people interpret that however they wanted to. It could be
To an extent, right?
To an extent.
Did we had to keep it PG?
Keep it relatively PG.
Okay.
Butch. Yeah. It was. Some people went with local celebrities, like John Arsenault dressed up like Red Laurel from Red's Health Club. And my crew dressed up as the Ice Skaters, and Julie and Blaze's group dressed up as a local socialite and car businesswoman, Sharon Moss. And some other people just picked different things in the community, different events. Like I remember one guy came dressed as the Great Flood of 2016, to kind of poke fun at, or rather make light of things that have brought us down in this community. And some other more lighthearted things like Evangeline made bread. That was a pretty funny addition to our parade. So we let people just kind of let their imaginations run wild and interpret what local legends meant to them. And we were very pleased to see what people came up with.
I think it was a really great first year theme, because it also drew in, like, everybody thinks that that's funny and enjoyable and entertaining, and then also it drew in the community who was watching.
Yeah.
Because they got to be like, oh my God, it's Evangeline made bread. Like they got to be excited about seeing the things in their community that they grew up with.
Yeah, we basically threw one big inside joke for a few thousand people on a Friday night, so that was pretty great. Yeah.
So I keep hearing about first year project. This was the first year theme was this. So there is going to be a second year, right?
Definitely working on it. Yeah.
Okay. Great. And what's the theme for the second year?
Good try, but
Huh? Come on, guys.
You'll know soon.
We could use the 24-hour citizen project to launch the 2019 theme.
You will know soon.
Soon? Come on, how soon?
I'll tell you this. Our theme is going to be released in the next few weeks.
Oh, come on, guys.
And you're going to love it.
Where's your loyalty to the 24-hour citizen project?
By the beginning of fall, end of summer, we'll have something for everybody. Because we only had like a few weeks of lead up time for people to get there, and people shine with that with a relatively short amount of time. So this year we want to give people, rather than a few weeks, we want to give them a few months to get their minds cranking and to be able to craft their costumes and craft their throws. And we want people to get really elaborate this year. So we're going to try and give people time and give people more detailed specs to work with. How low do the traffic lights hang, or how wide are the streets? So to give people the maximum amount of room to be creative in 2019.
Yeah, I need lots of creative space to work with.
Yeah, so you'll get that this year. Just be patient.
Okay, great. Thank you. So let's talk about some of the things about the project you didn't expect. Like, I know you had a big team, you had a lot of help, but anytime you're going into a project, there are unknowns and there are things that just, guys, we didn't even think about this. We didn't plan for it. Can you share any of those experiences, anything that comes to mind specifically?
I mean, one thing that I was super surprised about was how many people actually showed up to the parade.
Yeah.
That was our biggest concern.
Yeah, like when we turned the corner and saw a crowd, I cried.
Yeah, it was
like,
pretty
oh
real.
my God, people are here. Like, they want to be here.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was driving down Jefferson about like 30 minutes before the parade, and that was before they closed the streets down, and he was like, Paul, you're not going to believe. And he sent me a video, like he was driving like 5 miles an hour, so he sent me a video of like the streets were just lined with people, and at that moment I was like, just sigh of relief, but still very nervous. As you're going to be nervous until the very end, like until we left the after party. But yeah, it was pretty real. Like whenever we turned that corner in front of that dog, in front of Rev, it was just something that I never in my millions of years would have expected.
My next question was, what are the things that you loved? And you just answered that.
Yeah.
Well,
Would you agree?
I would say like something else that was just like, it was a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a lot more work than we all kind of expected, and then also the day of work when we were all like, I don't want to do it right now. I just want to play right now.
Yeah.
Like we all wanted to enjoy ourselves, but we were also like, well, we still have so much, like we're in charge of this. Like we have to make sure that people are moving. We have to make sure that the cops are happy. Like things like that we weren't. We knew that it had to happen, but none of us really wanted to do it.
Right.
So like,
you know what else too? Kind of on the flip side of that, I think one thing this was my first like entree in sort of a community-based thing here in Lafayette, and in some ways it was easier than I expected. Like we totally did this, like from the idea, and you just get a group of people who also want to do it. So I think it's kind of inspired me to want to do other things because it is doable. You can do what you set out to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, maybe I said hard. It's not necessarily hard. It's just a lot of work.
It was
Yeah.
a lot of
It's
work.
just like,
It's a very involved process, especially the days and weeks right before the parade. We're just like constantly doing something.
Yeah.
especially when you have another job.
Yeah. All
When
of
you have
us.
a day job.
This was definitely a passion project for all of us. None of us take a salary from this, so we're this is all something that we actively wanted to do for the community, actively wanted to participate in. So like she was saying, we all have jobs, and Julie and I are freelancers, like for example, and we wanted to do this so bad that we made it happen.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone else wanting to do this project in their community? So there are things that you experience. We talked about what you didn't expect. We talked about the things that you loved. But like, what are the things that if someone is wanting to do this, you, Julie, Blaze, Paul, would say, don't underestimate this thing. Is that route? Is that logistics? Is that police presence? Is that educating people? Like, what is the best advice you can give to someone?
I mean, I feel like they're all really important. It's like, because you can't have one without the other. So it's all super necessary. I would say what Blaze just said, like there's a good chance that you can make it happen. So like, don't feel like you can't. Don't feel like you can't do it. I know with Lafayette, like the events that I do put on and starting Southern Screen, it's like I know that this community is open to opportunity. And so, I didn't think that I could start a festival, but I did, and this is the 8th year, and so it's like, you can do it. Now, I don't know, I can't say that for every community, but I know in Lafayette, that's a big bonus to living here,
Yeah, I think that's a great point. This is a community that can be changed, and citizens can take control of their public spaces. And you guys have done just that.
Yeah.
And you've created something that's going to live on, hopefully for years to come. So take me back one more time. I've been to many parades in my life, and not all of them have an after party, at least that I'm invited to. Why do you guys need an after party? The parade itself is a giant party.
Well, we kind of did the after party as like our ball. You
Yeah.
know, like Mardi Gras cruise, you know, everybody who participated in the parade is part of the crew. So,
Right.
you know, that was like a big part of this whole like getting the community involved and giving the community something that they can participate in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I've never been in a Mardi Gras crew, but from what I understand, it's pretty expensive to do that. It's expensive to pay for beads. It's expensive to go to the ball. You know, like there's a lot of aspects of it that I probably could not afford. And so for us, like we wanted it to be that the after party was our ball, like it was our crew's ball. So, you know, everybody who was in the parade got in for free, got food, got, you know, entertainment. Other people could come. It was open to the public, but they had to pay to get in. So I mean, that was how I imagined our after party was.
Yeah.
It was your ball.
And it also served as a release. We know people had been working for however long we were able to give them on their floats and on their creative endeavors with the parade. So we just wanted an event after that parade for everybody to meet each other, shake hands, and you know, I liked what you did with that costume, and it was really cool to see everybody's. I guess we would call them floats, just parked on the lawn over there, and to be able to just hang out with everybody and enjoy a unique cultural event that we have down here with Mardi Gras, especially in the city of Lafayette. So I think that the after party was a very important component, you know, to get everybody who was actively in the crew, and also people who weren't able to join us for year one to you know, come and experience what the vibe was like with Krewe De Canailles.
I agree. I felt like the after party, just being someone part of a crew coming, was an incredible celebration. It felt like, and I don't know if this was what you anticipate, it felt like a celebration of community, because there was these little connections that were made between people that I had never met, but their costume was a conversation starter.
Yep. Absolutely.
And so that's really what I loved about it. I mean, obviously it was a celebration of Krewe De Canailles, and it was a continuation of the fun. But anyway, I think I love the idea of the after party. I hope it stays. Good.
We're doing everything in our power to
Good.
make sure it stays.
If you ditch if you ditch your parade, just keep the after party.
That's definitely one of our primary objectives to keep that going.
Good. So on that note, anything that you're doing different next year or this year that you didn't do last year?
Probably just more planning in advance, like Paul was talking about. Another thing this year that we didn't really do last year was we didn't consider volunteers. So we sort of like, and not, I think, consciously held everything kind of close. Like we felt like we had to muscle through everything, the six of us, and just getting more help from people that obviously want to be involved, I think will be a big difference this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been approached by a lot of people who, like, you know, really do want to help. They see the value in bringing this thing to the community. So we're definitely going to be, you know, chatting with people who want to bring year two to the table. So it's going to be pretty cool. And we're taking all of the constructive feedback that we got from people who were in the crowd or people who are in the parade. You know, some people just want more time in the streets, and we're doing everything we can to, you know, make that happen.
What do you do when everyone that's watching the parade wants to become part of the parade? I can't imagine going to Krewe De Canailles and not wanting to be part of it.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of a silly question because that may never happen, right? But I think I hope that happens in a sense that, like, man, could be really, really fun. Everybody's going to want to jump on board.
We've gotten a lot of that feedback too. A lot of people really saw it because, like I was saying earlier, people didn't know what to expect, so they didn't know what they were getting into whenever they would show up to watch the parade. So a lot of people were telling us, you know, me personally, I'm sure these two ladies heard it too, like, we really want to join next year. We're gonna sign up for 2019. So we're doing our best. We know that we have to make sure that everybody has a good experience. So we're looking into how many people we can accept into the crew to make sure that everybody has a good time, while also make sure that we involve as many people as we can. So 2019, we're gonna be expanding membership, and it's gonna be a pretty cool thing to see how much this thing has grown in the past 18 months. That since the 24-hour citizen project, or past year rather, yeah.
So let's think creatively for a second. 5 years. 5 years from now, we're approaching Mardi Gras. What does Krewe De Canailles look like? What do you think it's going to look like?
I want Krewe De Canailles Mardi Gras weekend. I want a parade. I want an after party on the Friday before. I want something on the Tuesday. I mean, I really want us to impact the whole Mardi Gras experience in Lafayette. People go out of town. They go on, the career, and it's fun. But I want more emphasis on like what Lafayette Mardi Gras could be. So just bigger and more stuff, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a big part for us is maintaining and building more relationships as a crew with different people who are involved in Mardi Gras and Lafayette. Like we're not necessarily saying that our event is better. Our event is just different. Like it's just different from everything that goes on. I personally go to all of the parades that happen in the streets of Lafayette anyway. So it's something that we feel we can build upon. We can invite other people to be a part of, to try and make a special thing happen. So I think going forward, building those relationships and seeing where those partnerships take us is going to be a pretty big step for us to take.
One question that I didn't ask. I've never been. I think you said it, Julie. I've never really been part of a Mardi Gras crew. I can't remember what dues cost me this year for individual. What did it cost me last year? Was it $50?
Yeah.
Okay, $50. And I'm part of a crew. Was there a message of inclusiveness in the dues or in the recruitment of the crews at all? A lot of the and my point is, a lot of the other Mardi Gras crews are very, very expensive to get into. So one thing that I love about it is everyone, for the most part, has the opportunity to really participate in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely the message we were trying to send. There's a place and a time for every other social club, every other crew, to have their audience. And for us, we several of us we're all like millennial age, just right around millennial age. So we know that a lot of people don't exactly have a few $100s to spend every single year just to join a crew. So why not be an entry level kind of thing to get people into the experience and to get them a pure experience as far as Mardi Gras goes. You get to join the parade, you get to come to the after party, and be part of this. I guess club, or more of an environment that's welcoming to everybody, regardless of socioeconomic status
Or age.
Yeah.
Or
age,
race,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything. Like, I know
Absolutely.
our mothers have talked about starting a crew,
Yeah.
which I would love more than. Are you
Absolutely.
kidding me? Like, you think I'm crazy? My mom is way worse than me. Like, I would love that.
Yeah, we're actively recruiting anybody who wants to join. I mean, we're not turning down. We're not targeting our ads toward this demographic or that demographic. No, we want people who are going to be willing to be creative to be a part of this process with us. And that could be anybody from any background.
Yeah. And as Paul said, like, that 5 year coming, we are going to have to put a number on how many people we can have in the parade. We have a number that we're throwing around now. If we hit that number, that's amazing, but we definitely want to, make sure everybody still has a good experience. The crew, the public, and, the police helping us, so.
Yeah. And you did all this with $5,000, or you needed to seek additional funding?
We did get some additional funding, and we also used the money from the cruise to help pay for a lot of the.
So that's how it's going to sustain itself moving forward, the cruise dues?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Great.
the plan.
That's the
Stan.
plan.
Yeah.
That's great. Guys, I can't wait for 2019.
You're absolutely welcome, and congratulations. You know, you and your wife are welcome to 2019. Very
She
very
now
new
gets
things.
to come.
Yeah,
That's right. Thank
this
you.
is a very new thing for
Thank you.
everybody. So everybody's welcome to 2019.
Was that a hint on the theme? Did I just get a hint and I? No.
I think we've all been very careful to
Oh,
any
come
hints
on.
this
Okay.
year.
And thanks so much to Civic Side for helping
Yeah,
absolutely.
give this the kick, because when we did have the idea and we were all just kind of talking about, I don't even remember us talking about money. Like, I think
No.
we were just like, we're gonna make this happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, then whenever Civic Side came up, we were just like, let's
We
try
were
that
like-
out. Yeah.
we were like, oh, we could use that money if that would work. But I mean, that I was super surprised when we were accepted. Like, I was like, oh my god, we did it. Like, we got money.
It was a
Right.
very validating experience for the idea,
Yeah.
because it's one thing to just like have sort of a similar group of people and think something's good, but then have sort of an objective group of people validate it. It felt really good. So even beyond the money, it was just very encouraging and I think confidence boosting for all of us.
Absolutely.
Well, great. Well, thank you guys for an amazing contribution to our community. We talk about all the time. How do we? What category do you guys fit in? Like, we talk about bikeability, we talk about sustainability, and we had to create a new category for you guys for culture and fun.
Yay!
So you fit into both. So thank you so much, and we're excited for 2019.
Yeah,
Thank
bring
you.
bring all your people. Yeah.
All right.